It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Maryville Saints head track and field coach, Coach Kayla Kregel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to start coaching in track and field?
Yeah, so when I was running in college, I was just studying to be a personal trainer or a strength coach. I love the aspect of working hands-on with individuals. I love being active. I could never see myself behind a desk. But then once I reached my senior year, I didn't want to give up the sport at all. So I kind of just went into creating opportunities. Can I be a grad assistant? Can I get my master's? Kind of dip my toes into being a coach and see if that's something I want to continue or not.
What was it like getting to go to college and play track collegiately?
It was, I think your biggest step into college sports was, okay, I'm doing track year round, because I was three-sport athlete in high school, but now I'm only doing track. So obviously it's a step up. Obviously I went to a very successful Division III program. So the standards are high, the expectations are high. The athletes around me were very talented. So it was a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun, a lot of good memories.
Of course, how is that like getting to go to Wartburg College and competing 3 years in a row for the national championship?
Um, a lot of work. It's so special to have in my back pocket and those memories to talk about it. To do it 3 years in a row was obviously only a few programs have ever done that. So it was tough. We were mentally stronger than most teams. That was our training, and hands down, the coach Newsome, for everything he, expected from us. The standards he had were high, and just push us in practice every day. Never let us get complacent. Nothing was ever like good enough, but it also pushed us to be at that elite level. Like, it was just expected. We're going to do this. And to be there, that third year in a row and get that trophy and get those rings 3 years in a row was a memory I wish my athletes could get to experience. And that's what drives me.
How is that like competing for your first national championship, but then after that competing 2 times back to back?
Um, I would say I got to give my teammates a lot of credit. They were the ones that were driving force. It took a whole team in track to go to nationals, score a lot of points, and have it come down to winning as a team. There were situations where it came down to the 4x4. There were situations where my sophomore year, our 4x4 ended up getting ninth. They took 9 to final, so we didn't score. But then we had a girl come through in triple jump that wasn't supposed to score, at the end of the meet, and we won that way. So there's a lot of things at a national meet that can go right or could go wrong, and we had them all. We had things go right sometimes. We had some upsets, and we had other things just fall apart at the national meet, but still found a way to score in jumps, throws, hurdles, and relays and get it done. So it takes a team effort. So it was great. I think when you're in the moment, it's kind of, this is the expectation, but now that I look back, it's like, wow, 3 years in a row is hard to do, even to do it 2 years in a row, but to do it 3 years, really special.
Of course, coming out of college, what was it like getting your first coaching job as the assistant coach at Penn State Bethel?
um it was great. I think I got to learn a lot, is the biggest thing. I only knew one way of training in college. I already only knew that I was a 400, 800 runner. I got to dabble a little bit with sprints in college, but I was more a long sprinter. So to be able to learn cross country training, to be able to learn I was a jumps coach and the throws coach along with the sprints coach at Penn State Barron. And then I got strength and conditioning certified and was a strength coach when I was there too. So just getting to learn so many different aspects of the sport, why we're doing what we're doing, really set me up for being a head coach right after that.
Of course, how was that like getting to learn the jumps and other distances that you did not compete in as a collegiate athlete?
It was always challenging, because I've only known like one way, but you kind of just deep dive. I would consider myself a nerd. You're constantly going to a convention and learning from coaches, and you're reading and you're learning from the athletes. Penn State Barron athletes, if you're listening, you know that we learned a lot together, and kind of just experimenting with training with them, working one-on-one with the athlete, putting the training towards that athlete and what they need to accomplish to get better. And that's when we saw success, is when we actually really individualize what we're doing, why we're doing it. And I think when you have that why and you're learning as a coach, then the athletes buy in and they get better. So Penn State Barron has a special place in my heart because it was a big game changer in me as a coach, as a person, as a leader. But also it was so cool to see those athletes accomplish a lot when I was there.
Of course, after that, what was it like returning back to your alma mater of Wolford and getting to become the head coach?
Yeah, so it's actually, they're very similar. It's a different college in Iowa. So I didn't go back to Wartburg that I graduated. I went to Waldorf. It was becoming a head coach at 23 always is going to be challenging. You don't know what you're doing. I still feel like sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. You just you go with the flow. You're there to take care of the athletes, to get them better and to improve the program. So going to Waldorf, first time head coach, and then having some athletes be older than me, and only having a small staff. And actually my staff was just as young as I was or younger. So it was a lot of challenges to come back to a small school in a small town in Iowa and to learn how to recruit and learn how to be successful. But I think those challenges and that adversity really forced me outside my comfort zone and to grow and to learn how to be successful at a small school before you move on. So it was a really good experience.
Of course, with those challenges that you said about obviously having the athletes at such a close age as you and the coaching staff, what was that like having them both in such a close age as you?
I say this a lot in life and a lot with my coaching staff. You got to fake it till you make it. You got to come into the room and the athletes don't need to know that you don't know what you're doing. They really don't. You just need to act like you know what you're doing, and they will think the world of you if you can help them get better. And you're constantly learning. Every place is different. They have different resources. We didn't have much for training resources at all there. We had a beautiful outdoor track, but we're in Iowa, so you could use that maybe a month in the fall and a couple months in the spring, so it's getting very creative. So obviously the challenges, but even with the closeness and age, you just got to have a line there. You got to have a boundaries and not let athletes cross that. And you got to keep your coaching staff on one side and act like professionals. You are a college coach for a reason. You're here. And then, your athletes won't know any different. I know a lot of them didn't even know that they were older than me. You literally have to look the part, walk the part, and just own it. And they won't question you then.
What were some of your accomplishments during your time as that first year head coach?
Oh, I would say I was only at Waldorf 2 years. When I came in, we had a really small team. I'd have to even look at my resume. We broke a lot of school records. I want to say close to 20 indoor and outdoor. So we rewrote the whole record board. But I wouldn't even say that's my biggest accomplishment. I think the biggest accomplishment would be recruiting some really good athletes in. My second year there, so the year right after I left, there was a national champ, Waldorf's first national champ. We recruited him in from Florida, just finding the right athlete, getting in talent, developing a coaching staff. So I hired a new coaching staff after my first year and got to bring in a couple of my teammates, my college teammates, as coaches there. And I think just developing a culture of success. They were a bottom conference team when I showed up, and we left with multinational qualifiers, and getting Marissa Kike, All-American, just getting athletes at the national level to believe themselves, to believe in the program, to trust new coaches, to create some noise was the biggest thing. And I would say that was my biggest accomplishment, is just making the program believe, and having coaches that buy in and build it. So yeah, the records are always there. The national qualifier numbers are always there. And those are always good things on a resume for accomplishments, but it's so much deeper than that. You got to do the little things every day to get to there. And that would say that was the biggest accomplishment.
How was that like, obviously, as you said, taking that team that was in last place in the conference and taking them to national qualifying?
Awesome. It's so gratifying as a coach, because you've been there. I've been at nationals, but a lot of athletes don't know even what it takes unless they're exposed to that. So it's just having coaches that have been exposed to that can instill that belief in the athletes and put them in positions to be at big meets, to hit big marks. I still remember bringing my athletes at Waldorf University, small town in Iowa, to Drake relays for the first time. One of the biggest meets in track and field in the country, and just having them step out on a blue oval in front of 17,000 spectators and competing. So cool for them. Such a cool experience. It was really gratifying to see that switch in mentality and let them buy in and create that energy in practice, and like actually have a mission of what we're on, and to go to the conference meets to upset, other athletes. And it's really cool when that happens.
Of course, how did your collegiate time as an athlete and your time as a head coach help you to where you are now with Maryville as a head coach?
Yeah. So I'm starting my 8th year of college coaching this year, and 6 of them have been at some sort of a head coaching role, and every year set me up for the next year. I am constantly learning. The athletes are changing, and especially through COVID, just mentality wise and training wise, and also everybody in the world is getting faster. This sport, all sports, they're getting better. We're getting better. So as a coach, you're constantly challenging yourself. How can I level up to help my athletes level up? So my time at Waldorf, I went down to Kaiser University in Florida for 2 years, another NAI school. Really taught me a lot about building programs, really taught me about coaching different events, how to be a director and administrator of a program, because a lot of people think, oh, head coach, you get to just coach all the time. And I would say 80% of the job is administration, making sure that our budgets are right and our recruiting is right. And we're setting our program up for success. So all of that experience really set me up to go to Division II. This is my 2nd year in Division II, and I love it. I love that balance of academics and athletics and high expectations in both. And it set me up well to take on this challenge at Maryville, because I came into another program where we're middle to back of the pack of the conference, and what can we do now? So.
How was it like when you got announced to become the head coach for Maryville?
It's always exciting, but it's bittersweet, because you're leaving a program that, I went to Florida for a reason. And then, my ultimate goal is to get back closer to home. So this was a great location for me. This was a great opportunity to take a step up in a division. This is a great opportunity to be back as more of a head coach of cross country and track, and to have a staff and some other resources that I didn't have in Florida. So obviously I was really excited, because during my interview process, I saw a lot of potential with this program, and to just get offered that position, you know, is always exciting. And it's always, I would say it's a barrier breakthrough for female coaches. And I'm a big advocate for female coaches being leaders, and that we can do what males do. And I love being able to step up and step into this role and still lead at a new level.
Of course, how is that like not just coaching track, but also getting to coach cross country while at Maryville?
Yeah. So I kind of got into a predicament last year. I had a distance coach on staff until August, and then that individual took another position in the area. And that always happens, you know, as a head coach, your staff might change a lot during your coaching career. You got to be ready to step up and make moves. So I ended up being, well, I thought I was not going to take control of cross country season, and ended up being the head cross country coach and track coach, you know, making sure track was getting on their way last fall until I hired Coach Blanco in October. And he's taken out over all the distance side of things since. He's done a great job. I'm still around. I still want to be that head coach that's visible. I'm still, this morning I ran with the ladies, you know, I wanted to still be a female role model for those ladies. But it's great to be over top of both and have an influence, but also have a coaching staff that I can trust. Like I don't question the training. I might give a 2 cents every now and then, but other than that, it's more observation. It's more, how can we work together as a coaching staff to create the best experience, but also the most success for our athletes.
What is that like, obviously, getting to coach both the men and the women in track and field?
Great question. I love it. It creates a good dynamic at practice. It's a lot of energy. I never split them at all. Like, obviously we'll run reps. I'll have a ladies group and a men's group, but a lot of my men and ladies do the same workouts in their event groups. So I'm never easy on my ladies at all. You know, I'm always hard on them. And they challenge each other. I'll have ladies try to outlift my guys in the weight room. Just the talking smack at practice. It's a good environment to help both programs level up. And, you know, I always say we're brothers and sisters, we're families. So when we get to a meet, they are fighting for each other, and it's really cool atmosphere. And that's the culture I want.
Of course, what does a typical track and field meet look like for Maryville?
The biggest thing that I changed when I came in here, and it's another thing to go along with culture, is that we are going to all be to the meet to support the first event, and we will all be there until the last event, cheer on the last event, and then we will break down together. So we break down at the beginning of the meet and then end of the meet together. I think that's crucial. So meet day might look like, okay, we're getting up, we're jumping on the bus or the van, and traveling in the morning. We have breakfast for the team. But once we get off that van and we set up camp, we warm up as a team, we break down as a team, we get our minds right. And then it's all split. Like, track and field's chaos, you know? So there might be shot put going on, and there's discus, and there's long jump, and there's high jump all starting at once. So, you know, it's just busy all day long, you know, throughout the day. Us coaches are always out coaching at different events. The athletes are out cheering on each other, making sure they're doing their job for the day. And then at the end of the day, we recap. We will shout out school records. We will shout out personal best. I'll let the coaching staff talk, and then we break it down before we jump on the bus and come home. So the biggest thing is just the culture and the support. And if you build that, then everything else follows.
Of course, as a head coach, what is that like getting to see not just, let's say, the long distance, but also going over to the shot put and getting to see them perform?
I have been a part of coaching staffs, and I've seen coaching staffs where the head coach is not that present, with like going around and supporting everybody. And I know as a head coach, it's so hard. Like, we are pulled all different directions. People are always calling our phone. They have something going on. Where's the food? What's this? You know, and there's a lot of things, but that is a number one priority of my day at a track meet, is that I am trying to support every single event. So I literally put in, I mean, It's a joke on the team, but at one of my past championship meets, I put in 17 miles of running that day between all the events. So meet days are meet days for the coaches too. It's literally I gotta fuel. I gotta eat a lot the day before and make sure I'm ready. So because I'm active all day long, I want to make sure that I'm out there to support. I think it means a lot to the athletes, and I want to see what's going on too. I want to know how we're throwing, how we're doing. And especially for the championship meet, how are we scoring? We got to know that. So we're adding up the score to do something as a team.
Of course, how has your time as an assistant coach and getting to coach the javel and the throwing helped you to being a head coach and getting to help the people that you're coaching right now in javelin and throwing?
It is my time as an assistant coach was awesome because, again, when I said earlier, you literally learn, or I did, I took it on because I'm a nerd, but to learn all the events. So now when I have a throws coach, but we have 2 or 3 different throws events going on at the same time, I can be there and I know what I'm talking about. And I can help that athlete. It's not like I'm going to that event and not knowing one thing about it and can't help those athletes at all. So I really am really high priority on like knowing what our events are, at least enough to help somebody.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you built for Maryville?
Yes. Culture is everything. So I think supporting each other is the number one thing. And that starts with the coaching staff. I think our culture needs to start from the top and it trickles down. So just having my coaches feel supported, feel empowered, feel independent, that they can do their thing and create their own culture within their groups, but also know our main goal. I think that's great. And we all communicate really well. Once we do that, then the athletes follow. They see that the distance coach and the sprints coach support each other. So both of those groups are going to support each other, and the throws and the jumps and everybody else. So I think it's crucial that our culture is from top down. It's all about support. It's all about working hard every day, controlling what we can control. A lot of high energy. I'm big on mindset. I'm big on knowing why you're there and what's your role on the team. And we're constantly working on that every day. It needs to be something that's worked on every day, and then it naturally just starts producing and reproducing. Our incoming freshmen, we got 40 of them this year, are getting into that, and now it's going to just roll like a snowball. So I'm excited for the future.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to go into track and field? And what does the official visit look like for them?
Yeah, so recruitment, a lot of times athletes reach out to us. I'm constantly on the internet looking at results. I've been out to some local meets, but we have a very good high academic school. So a lot of athletes are looking to come here for academics. And then they're like, hey, can we compete? And sometimes they're really good. So it's just a great fit. Other times we've done a couple official visits where we flew an athlete up. We had a couple girls from Texas come up last year, flew them up, stay overnight. We do a missions tour, obviously meet with the team. I think that's big, that they get to know the team, get their numbers, talk with them, get all the ins and outs of what it's like to be here, come to a practice, meet with the coaching staff, and then pretty much it's just a full day. I want them to get a true feel of what it's going to be like. And I'm not here to hide anything. I give them their families time with the team alone, that they can ask all those questions they don't want to ask me, so I think that's crucial. Yeah.
Of course, for those prospective student athletes, do you have moments where, like, let's say they wanted to go into shot put and javelin, so they'll see more of that versus, let's say, long distance?
Yeah. I want them to see their event coach. I want them to see those athletes, watch that practice. We make it very specific to that athlete. Yes.
Of course, what advice would you give those prospective student athletes looking to come to college for track and field?
What events am I looking for?
What advice would you give them?
Or what advice? I think advice to any student athlete looking to go to college right now, contact the coach individually. All right. So find their email on the website, contact them, and don't do it through a recruiting service. There's so many recruiting services that reach out to coaches for you, but so many coaches just delete those. I'll be honest, because it's not personalized. The coach wants to hear from you and wants you to know that you want to be there. So if you can set yourself apart that way, you'll hopefully get a coach that will respond.
Who are some of the teams that you face in your conference each week?
We see a lot of different teams around here. So track and field's not like we need to play our own conference teams. So we see some NAI teams, Missouri Baptist. I mean, there's 7 universities in St. Louis. So we're seeing universities here. We'll see some D1. So St. Louis University, Lindenwood University is in St. Louis. They just went D1. We got other D2 teams in the area, Quincy, Missouri S&T, Southwest Baptist University. We go over the University of Indianapolis. They're in our conference. So we see just all levels, and we see a whole bunch of different teams.
What are some of your future plans in the program?
My future plans, I want to be a top 5 team in the nation. That's what we're going for. And that's a big lofty goal, because we haven't had athletes. We had some athletes hit national provos last year, but Division II kind of changed their qualifications and they take a limited squad. So first we got to be at nationals. We got to score at nationals, and I want to score as a team. So lofty goals, that's where we're going. We're building a roster. We have 40 new freshmen this year. We're building a coaching staff, adding new coaches. And that'll look like more resources here for our athletes, to train eventually. And we got some big visions, but it takes time, but we've done a lot in a year.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to represent the U.S. track and field and compete nationally?
Talk to your college coach if you're in college, because we will change our training to your goals. Normally. So if your goal is to be at USA's, that is after season. So I know there's some D2 athletes that competed internationally last year at a high level really well, but they did not peak for nationals. They peaked after that for the USA's and international competition. So my advice, talk to your coach if that's your goal, see what your coach thinks, see if it's feasible. And then obviously, hopefully that coach will alter your training to meet your goals on a larger level than just college track.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to go into college coaching for track and field?
My advice is to go be a GA somewhere. Go be a grad assistant. Get underneath the program elsewhere. Don't go to your own program. That's what you know. You need to get out. You need to experience a different staff. You need to experience new athletes. Learn as much as you can about the sport, all events. Don't just say, I'm a distance athlete, I'm going to coach distance. I think it's great that you know distance, but get your feet wet, because that's where you'll be able to be marketable and also impact a lot of student athletes on the road.
What advice would you give people that are looking to become head coaches just like you?
Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, I could have limited myself as a GA, did not even apply for head coaching positions. And there are many individuals that get head coaching positions right away because they took advantage of learning all the different events, of putting themselves out there to go through interviews, to make an impact, and it's totally doable. So, and even if you're assistant right now and you've been an assistant for 10 years at a college level, you got to put yourself out there to be head coach. You do. And network, talk to other coaches, and it can be totally doable if it's what you want to do.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah. I have a Twitter at Kayla Kregel. Our Maryville Instagram is Maryville XCTF. I run all our social media there. So yeah, I do a lot of my, coaching social media through Twitter.
Thank you again, Coach Kayla Kregel, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Maryville as the head track and field coach.
Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Kayla Kregel, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.